All right, Molly, welcome to Unsinkable. I'm like turning red. I'm so excited because this is a big moment for me. I've been such a fan of you guys for a while now, and my family and I watch you all the time. And last year, I guess it was around maybe August or September of last year, we ran across your Titanic episode where you went to the exhibition. And
Yeah.
it was like such a moment for me full circle because I had heard you mention Titanic so many times and I sort of wondered in the back of my head if you were a Titanic person. So um tell us a little bit about your journey with Titanic. Like how were you like movie person, ship person, like what's your journey to Titanic fandom in any way?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. This is such a treat because I probably technically am a Disney kid first because my nursery was Minnie Mouse, so I kind of like had no choice.
Yeah.
Uh, but my special interest starting at probably first grade was the Titanic. And this is before the movie came out. So this is not movie related. Um, I do love the movie. It would be if I had Letterbox, it would be in my Letterbox 4. I can quote the whole thing, but I wasn't actually allowed to watch the movie when it came out. My mom was like, "No." But eventually she let me, obviously. But no, I was obsessed with the actual ship and the tragedy of the ship and all the facts about the ship and just this idea that I think every kid had like a history thing they were obsessed with, and a lot of times it's something really sad.
Yeah,
Like,
no, it was always I feel like it's dinosaurs or deep space or
yeah.
Titanic. There seem to be
Or
categories.
I have friends that
Titanic
are
is one.
like were like big into like the medieval times and medieval like torture or like World War II, like these like very grim things. For as a
Yeah.
kid, I was fascinated by it. And I had so many books about the Titanic. Whenever my mom or dad would take me to like Barnes and Noble or Borders, I would go straight to the history section and look at all the Titanic books, and I would pick up new books about the ship itself, and I had video games and I had all these things about the Titanic. And that was even before the movie came out. And then when the movie came out and it was such a hit, my mom wouldn't let me see it in theaters because I was in third grade.
I was
So
about to say
yeah,
you're younger than me. So
yeah,
I was 13 when it came out. So I was like the primo age.
yeah.
Yeah. So when did you get to see it for the first time? Did you wear your mom down or
Uh,
was it a while before you saw it?
when it came out on two tape VHS,
Yeah.
I was finally allowed to watch it. But my mom made me fast forward the painting scene and the car scene because the sexy scenes I was not allowed to watch, but
Gotcha.
like thousands of people dying was fine.
That's fine. The
Yeah,
trauma of seeing like the dead baby in someone's
that was
arms, like that's
totally
totally fine.
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild, but a lot
So,
of people have that story.
so then I would end up just watching the second one, the second VHS. Like I wouldn't even bother. I didn't care really about the
Because it
story. I
wasn't worth
just
having to like fast forward. Yeah. So would you say are you a second VHS girl then? Because you just
now,
people tend to be like either a first VHS or a second VHS person.
now I think I'm probably a first
Okay.
VHS person because I love the characters and I love the quotes. There's so many iconic lines in the movie. And I love Jack and Rose, but definitely back then I was a second VHS person. And I didn't actually fully see it in theaters until I want to say the 25th anniversary when they released it in 3D, like a
Oh yeah.
re-release back in the theaters. And I finally saw it, and it was like, the necklace like floating at my face in the 3D and
Yeah.
inside the theater.
Yeah, it's funny that you had that experience because I took my kids to that 25th anniversary release and my daughter was oh my gosh, I think she was 6 or 7. And the thing is, I never hesitated about the car scene or the drawing scene because we're a very like liberal household with that stuff. And they knew that was coming. And it's not even that graphic in any
No.
way, shape, or form. So I wasn't worried about that. So I went in confident. And then when the ship started sinking and all of the people started falling off and dying, I realized
Yeah.
I had been worried about the wrong thing. And I don't think that they slept well that night because it really is, especially on the big screen, it's
Yeah.
very traumatizing, like those last 20 or 30 minutes. So I think
Yeah.
parents were worried about the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think probably part of the reason I would defer more as a first VHS person now, I think as an adult, I have a much deeper emotional understanding of how sad some of those things are. Like
Yeah.
as a kid, you can understand it's scary and it's loud and it's chaotic and all these things. But as an adult, seeing things like the woman with the dead baby in her arms or seeing the couple hold each other in their last moments, like as an adult, I'm like, oh my, like that hits you so
Mhm.
much harder as you
Yeah.
kind of
And as you have
comprehend everything more.
Yeah, as if you have children in your life, whether children or, godchildren or just like,
Yeah.
children of your friends or whatever. Like for me as a parent, like I can't watch the scene where the Irish mother puts her kids to bed anymore. Like I can't, and I kind of rotate in and out. Like sometimes I'll be in a mode where I am rewatching it a lot and then I'll go years without watching it. And then those will hit me so hard.
Uh-huh.
So, I think I know. Well, tell me first, because I'm so excited you're a ship person, because a lot of people are mostly a movie person. But before we get to the rest of the question, so do you remember when you were a kid and it was Ship, because the movie had not come out, what part of it enthralled you the most? Do you remember? Was it like the physicality of the ship and its building, or was it more like certain passengers that you read about? Do you remember like how your brain sort of processed it when you were younger?
I think I was just fascinated by the luxury of the ship. There's something about like one of my favorite books was just fast facts about the ship. Like it was just like
Yeah.
stats. And I remember being just fascinated by the size and the like luxury of it and the fact that there was my small brain didn't comprehend a cruise ship at the time. So this is probably like the first, big ship I learned about.
Yeah.
And eventually went on a Disney cruise and I was like, oh my God, these are real. But just the idea of like, there's a gym and all these fancy dining locations and all these like fancy people wearing their fancy clothes and their big hats and their furs. And there was a car on board and like something about the luxury and the just grandness of it and the beauty of it lured me in. And then also something about the like tragedy of the whole thing lured me in as a kid. That kind of morbid curiosity we all have of like, how does this happen and what would that be like and what would that have I think the idea as a kid too, the image that we see in the movie or you've seen in simulations, like the idea of a ship sinking and raising out of the water like that is so gargantuan. I don't think I could understand it, but I
Mhm.
read as much as I could to find out about it.
I think that's one of the reasons it does stay kind of a common language for everybody is I think our brains can't really they can't wrap around that actually happening or actually witnessing it. And I also think it's because I think about this a lot because there were some cameras on board, but it was such new technology. There were even some people like, I mean, I'm going to sound 90 years old, but like taking video with like the crank. I don't know all the lingo, but like none of that survived because it was so novel. People weren't
Yeah.
carrying things in their pockets. They were these big, bulky items that people had in bags. So I think it be happening right on the cusp of us having any actual record of it happening. That's always been my theory, is that
Yeah.
then it allows our imagination to fill everything in. And as we're sitting here, it never occurred to me that because I grew up on all the Disney movies of the 90s,
Yes.
and like late 80s and 90s. And then I've been watching so many of them with my kids for the last almost, 12 years. That aesthetic is actually a little Disney. When you think about a movie like Lady and the Tramp, or you think about like even like Frozen, like that sort of like luxury feel of so many of the stories are about kind of upper middle class or upper class people, and the aesthetics are often like late 1800s, early 1900s, or I never really thought about that, but there is a little bit of a tie there, I think, with like what people get obsessed with in those aesthetics. And
And
that,
I always was the kid who like loved dressing up. Like I had a huge dress up closet and my mom used to say like Molly never went to the grocery store but Princess Belle and Cinderella and Dorothy from the Wizard of Oz
yeah.
because I would like want to be dressed up in my, princess dress and little fake heels and my little faux fur, like whatever my a crown. Like I always have been the person that loves dressing up. So I do think there's something there of like
Yeah.
seeing the pictures of these very fancy people in their
Hmm.
insane jewels and gowns. And that's not really how we dress as a society anymore,
No,
obviously.
no.
And we are much more casual a lot of the time.
That's putting
So,
it mildly. Yeah.
yeah, putting it mildly, but like just the idea, I kind of, you know, I don't need to go back to that time, but I do kind of wish people made
It
more of
would
a spectacle
it
of
would
like
be kind no,
going
I
places.
no, I agree. And I always, and by the way, I always love the things you're wearing in your videos. I think you have amazing style.
Thank you.
I agree. I think like they've gone a little too far in the other
Yeah.
direction. And I do think like there's something whimsical and very romantic about even like when people used to just dress to go to the airport, like
Yes. Yeah.
like
And I'm
I
the
didn't.
first person in my sweats at the airport.
And we're now it's like we went to the UK last month and I was like, I'm just gonna wear my pajamas on the plane because
Yeah.
I don't, like what else would I do?
But
Um,
when we're on Disney cruises, like unless you're going to the adult dining, there's not really a dress code. Like you're not supposed to wear swimwear, obviously. But
yeah.
Alan, my husband, and I always dress up for dinner. Like not in our fanciest
Yeah.
clothes, but I just, and maybe it's my subconscious like emulating the people of the Titanic, but like I love to put on a dress and some like I
Same.
just love that vibe and it feels fancy and I like to make an occasion of it. And the
No, we're
older I get, the more I you know,
absolutely
like that.
100%. I mean that the funny picture that was my background when we came on, there was an accident. That was it. The one of the Titanic museums has like the one in Pigeon Forge has like a replica, like a full scale replica of the staircase. That museum is very cheesy in many ways, but the staircase is like epic. I mean, they spent all the money in the world on it. And it's an exact replica. And I like was at an event in a dress and I was like, I have to, like I have to
Yeah.
take this
Yeah.
photo. But we're the same way. Like even when we're traveling with our kids and they're just in their t-shirts and whatever, like I will put on a dress for dinner because I'm not going to dinner without a dress on.
Yeah.
What is like, do you think that like, I mean, the 97 movie, do you think it hits on any of the same like nerve centers of nostalgia that like Disney stuff does? I mean, I think it's so crazy that Disney now owns it. So weird to
Yeah.
think
It is
about.
weird.
But like I feel like it's in the lexicon of things like Disney, and which is strange considering that like we were just talking about, there's so much trauma and suffering in that film. But I feel like it becomes like this cultural reference point that's very similar to like Disney things. And I don't know that I really have an answer for why, but I don't, does any like what else from that era like hits that like nostalgia, like nerve center for you in like a similar way?
I think there's a lot of movies that I love that a lot of people love. I'm not unique in loving the movie Titanic, obviously. That's like one of the
Same.
most popular movies of all
Yeah.
time. But
Yeah.
I think part of the reason that a lot of those are still incredibly popular, they came out when we were the right age for them to be nostalgic, but they still hold up. Like the other movie that immediately came to mind was Jurassic Park that came out a couple years earlier. It came out in 93. And even my favorite movie of all time is Jaws, which came out in 75. But all of these movies have stood the test of time and they still look incredible. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think a better dinosaur movie has ever been made than Jurassic Park. I doubt one ever will. And I think the fact that the way James Cameron made Titanic, it's nostalgic because you remember watching it and it was such a phenomenon. Like, I remember Leonardo DiCaprio being on the cover of every like Tiger Beat
Yes.
and
Oh,
teen magazine.
I've got one of my
Yeah.
Leo shirts on.
Oh, he was such a heartthrob.
Yeah.
Everyone loved him. I had the poster for sure. Like, and so I think it was such a cultural phenomenon in the 90s, which is fun because it was before social media, obviously. So for something to be a cultural phenomenon, it meant you were going out and getting like hard media to celebrate, like whether it be a magazine or I had like making of books where James Cameron talked about like
Oh, yes.
how those things were made. This is before that was
Mhm.
like a feature on a DVD if you wanted to learn how
Mhm.
they did all of these things, the scale models and everything. So I think it's this combination of it was such a cultural phenomenon when we were kids, but it also, if you were to show it to someone right now, it holds up. It looks amazing. It still
Yeah.
looks just as
No,
good.
no, absolutely. And I think actually have the same reference points like Jaws, Jurassic Park. I have always been obsessed with Jurassic Park, and it's been so cool that my kids have aged into being able to watch the movies with me. Like when I showed them Jurassic Park for the first time, the original. I mean, I just was like, I almost cried. I was so happy that they could finally watch it. But I agree, and I think like the thing that has happened in film is that there's been such a push towards CGI, and everything looking I don't even know what the word is, but like glossy? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know any film lingo. But I feel like Titanic was the last big like monoculture moment where a movie was the physically made. Yeah, I mean like
yeah,
he built all of the sets. He threw people down that deck. I mean the stunt people had to wear like padding and like
yeah,
fall on like they had to like make all of the benches and things out of like rubber so that people could fall on them. But he really just sank a ship, and I don't think
yeah.
that anybody would pay for that to happen again.
I
It
I
wouldn't
think it would
happen.
be hard. Like I think Christopher Nolan just did it with the. I haven't even seen the Odyssey
Oh,
yet, but I
I
do think
haven't seen it yet.
there are people still committed to practical effects, and I watch a lot of horror, which is a lot of practical effects, and
Oh yeah,
I don't care how old the movie is. Practical effects to me will always look better than a overuse of CGI, and
hundred
certainly
percent.
better than generative AI. So I think that it's just the fact the movie holds up, and then also like the song. I think My Heart Will Go On has surpassed, because even if you've somehow never seen Titanic, you know that song and
Yeah.
you know where it's from. Like I think there were just enough in big huge things that came out of it, whether it be Leo and Kate or the movie itself or the song. Like that movie just, there were so many big things that went into it.
Or even just like the flying scene, the draw me like one of your it just has entered like the cultural lexicon in a
Yes.
way that was I'm always I always try to explain to my kids like yeah there's still kind of monoculture moments now but like you can't understand what it was actually like. You put it a good way to like go get the physical item, like go buy the VHS, go buy the magazine. Like I had all the Leo, yeah, I had the Leo
Yeah.
magazines. I had you'd like rip the poster out and like
Oh
tape it
yeah.
on your wall, and that
Mm-hmm.
physicality is gone. I one of the things that really drew me and my whole family really to you guys' channel is you sort of mention a lot how joyful it is to, build a life that your younger self would be happy and proud of. And that really like moves me as a concept because that's I sort of in my 30s and now I'm in my early 40s, like have rediscovered my 13-year-old self, like truly. And I think, this podcast really became a big part of that. It's why I started it. And it's taken me all over the world and it's been such an experience. And I would never have had that unless I just like let my nerd flag fly and like
I
go
love
for it.
that.
So do you think that, I mean, there's got to be something to that, right? Because I'm like looking at your pic, you've got Titanic behind you, which is awesome. And you've got
That
Jaws.
actually, that was a gift from my mom, and it is signed by the last one of the last surviving people on the Titanic up at the top. It's very
Oh,
small, but it's like an actual picture of the Titanic,
that's
and it
so
was signed
cool.
by her, and my mom gave me that, so it went on my gallery wall of all
That
my
of course.
nerdy
That's
things.
a
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think like basically like what behind you is what we've been talking about, like a gallery of things you've loved since you were a kid. So do you think that's, I mean, it's a cheesy question, but do you think that's kind of the secret to life?
I
I'm starting to think it is.
I really do. I heard this quote online, and it was like the best part of being an adult is being able to be obsessed with the thing you were obsessed with at 13, but with money and without judgment. Like,
Yeah.
because now, we're no one's, I always joke, I'm like, I'm a child with adult money and like adult free will. Like,
Yeah.
so I do think that is the secret to happiness. And I think we talk about it a lot in our content and also just out of our content. And I think too often people grow up and they forget that whimsy is okay. And they forget
Yeah.
that joy is productive. And I think, unfortunately, like being an adult is hard, being a human is hard. And there's so many responsibilities. But I think the key to success is to hang on to whatever it was that made you happy at 13 and have fun with it as an adult. And whether that be, my husband loves Pokemon and playing, card games, so he and his friends have D&D night as often as they can, or whether, I'm lucky that it's my job, but even before it was, I would go to the parks with my friends and walk around Disney World and cry at the fireworks. And it's like, there's, some people in life tell you not to do those things, or they might judge you for being obsessed with those things, or that's what you're spending your money on. But I feel like joy is so important. And what's the
Hmm.
point of all this if
No,
not for a little
amen.
bit of
Yeah.
joy?
No, I mean, I love the way you put it that joy is productive because I think that was a big realization for me. Like as a historian, for example, like I sort of, flitted around to trying a few things after I did my degree, and I just didn't fit into like the typical mold of like the super serious academic. Like I wanted to do something that helped history be accessible to people and that sort of thing. So I've been on a journey with that, but also just yeah, I think when you are really enjoying what you're doing, that is the most productive like phase you can be in. That's an excellent way to put it. I mean, I'm sitting here with I have heated rivalry
I
earrings.
was going to tell you I liked those because I noticed them right away and I was like, oh, I know what those are from.
Well, I it was funny because I was I've just been working from home today and I was like working out and then took a shower, but I was like getting ready earlier and I was like, John, what should I wear for my call with Molly? I'm nervous. And he was like, well, you just need to be your dorky self. So wear one of your Leo shirts and wear your heated rivalry earrings.
I
And I was
love
like,
them.
yeah, but like the way you put it is so true. It's like I already have a heated rivalry tattoo as
Love
well.
that.
I got that 2 weeks ago. So this is how I am. Like I get into something and if it brings me joy because it hits like a part of my inner child that needs to be let out, or if it just hits like a joy nerve and makes me feel like the world is a better place. The world's a really scary place right now. So
Hmm.
I mean, that's what like your channel has been for our family. Like it's so fun. It brings such joy. Like because we're Disney people, we love to talk about the rides. We love to talk about oh my gosh, my kids watch the ones where you do the soda and the chips and
Oh,
all the food and like trying
yeah.
ranking all the food. And that, I mean, we actually did a ranking and copied you. Like we have a finished basement. We took a whole wall and did like, A, B, like did the
I love
tiers.
it.
And so now like once a month we come up with a category and we tier list. So we like totally stole that
Oh,
from
that's so
and yeah,
fun.
and like they love like we'll do movies or we'll do like trips we've been on because we travel a lot. So, one, like, as we kind of wind down, though, like, one serious-ish question that I think about a lot because I am a historian and I have a loyalty to making sure that, I guess the best way to put it is things don't go like with Titanic, like, I don't want to see it completely like memeified. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's as we've been talking about, I'm glad that people are still getting into it. And obviously, the film is its own thing. But in our social media kind of clickbaity, buzzy culture, like, I worry it's getting memeified. And I know there's been like a huge, like a surge of experiences with everything. So Titanic's
Yeah.
not the only thing this is happening to. Like everything is immersive, everything is being kind of Disneyfied, which in some ways is good. I love Disney. So that's
Yeah.
amazing to me. Like when I walk in into Disney Park, I'm like my truest self and I'm so happy and joyful. But do you have any thoughts on that? Like what, like, because that is kind of the direction everything is going. And something like Titanic, I think like some immersion could be good because I've done a couple of the VRs where you sort of experience what it would have been like during the sinking. I don't know, there's like kind of a fine line. I don't know, like
I
you do this for a living. So do you have any thoughts about that
it
in terms of
it's
experiences?
definitely a fine line because yeah, you want people to always be excited about it and excited to learn about, history, but there is a fine line of like gamifying it too hard or exploiting something that a lot of people died in for
Yeah.
entertainment. And I say this as someone who literally loved the video game Titanic Adventure Out of Time as a
I
kid.
was gonna
When
ask if you had it. I
I
figured you did.
was
Yeah.
obsessed with it and I would play it today if I had it. And but it like literally was I'm pretty sure it involved the Nazis on the Titanic and you like
Yeah, I'm
stopped
pretty
World
sure
War
it
II.
did.
Like it was like crazy. But
I wasn't a gamer. My husband's a big gamer, so he
yeah,
had it at the
I
time. Yeah, yeah.
I wasn't even good at it. I just liked walking around the ship, if I'm being
Yeah.
honest. Like, I wasn't even good at figuring out the mystery. I just liked exploring the different spaces of the ship. But there is a difference to me, and I've been to several different Titanic exhibits. And the first one I went to was a traveling exhibit when I was in, I think, college. It traveled to Atlanta, where I grew up, and I was home visiting my mom. And we went to this exhibit, and it was one of the artifact exhibits
Oh, yeah, yeah.
where they have, hundreds of artifacts that actually have been saved off the bottom of the ocean. And they had some replicas of different spaces as well, like we've seen at several different places. But I remember this was when I was an adult. It was probably that probably helped. It had been a long time since my reading all the books as a kid moment. But two, I remember being in this one room, and the whole time you're seeing all these different artifacts. We are seeing, plates and recreations of what the dining room and what the different bedrooms and things might look like. But then there was this one room that was very dark. It was very somber, and they had some different things, and they had eyeglasses and a teddy bear that had been saved from the bottom of the ocean. And I remember that was the first time I cried thinking about Titanic, not the movie, because I was, as an adult, looking at a teddy bear that was a child's, that it really hit me that these were real people. Yeah. And I think when you do exhibits like that, and they have a great one in Orlando, and I know the one in Orlando, and I believe Branson are the two that are, you would know more than me, certified or run by
Vegas and Orlando.
Vegas and
are
Orlando
the ones that are run by the company that like officially owns the artifacts from the wreck.
Yeah. So it was, the one in Orlando is pretty good too, because I think it does a good job of being like, this is an immersive, interactive exhibit. You can touch the ice, you can feel how cold it was.
Yeah, like iceberg and stuff. Yeah.
And they do the thing where they give you a person on your ticket and you find out their fate at the end, which is, I think, a humbling thing to see what happened to that person and to learn more about an actual person. But then there's the fact, so I think those things are good, because it really, I think, hammers home the point that these were real people, and it tells you the story of what happened, and you learn a little bit about like what went wrong and why this happened. And there's 10 different reasons that this happened, but you learn those along the way. But then I also look at things like in Pigeon Forge, there's an ice cream shop themed to the Titanic.
Yeah.
And it's got ice cream treats themed to Captain Smith, a man that died. And I'm like,
Captain Smith is painted on the wall next to an ice cream cone.
That to me is when we get too far.
Agreed. Yeah.
And I always am icky about merchandise too, a little bit, because there's some stuff I'm like, do we need to make, like, on the one hand, I'm like, okay, it's raising money for the, if it's raising money to go towards the actual society that is preserving and finding these items.
Yeah, or like conserving the artifacts properly and things like that. Yeah.
So that to me is okay. I bought something at an exhibit once, but it was a quote. It was a notebook and it had a quote from the movie. So I was like, I'm cool with the movie being merchandised.
I think the movie can be merchandised. Like it's, and I love merch. I'm a merch girl.
I love merch.
I can't, we're like trying to like organize and clean our whole house right now, and I've got boxes full of things. I'm like, when did I buy this? I don't know. But no, I think you're right. And I watch people dance on the fine line, and it's nerve-wracking sometimes.
It's a fine line for sure, because it's an important thing in history. And I just think there's something a little odd about being like, oh, I'm gonna wear I don't know. I can't even remember some of the merch that I saw. That was kind of just making me go, like a little cringe.
One of them at Pigeon Forge is like, I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's just ridiculous. Like Titanic swim team, 1912. Like, really?
Like, that's not in great taste.
In the poorest taste that one could imagine. So yeah, I agree. And I think, I have been to a couple of the VR experiences where I could see, especially like if it was like a field trip for middle schoolers or high schoolers, like there's a lot that can be gleaned from it. But I just worry, things are moving a little too much in that direction. And I think a lot of people conflate the movie with it now in a way that they don't understand it's not real. The movie.
I remember as a kid, I went on that slide. Have you seen that big blow up slide?
Oh yeah.
And as a kid, I was like, this is awesome. It's like I'm in the movie. But now as an adult, I'm like,
oh. I know I would never let my children do that now. But it's funny. I was back when the 25th anniversary came out. We lived in Austin at the time, and I was working with the Alamo Draft House, the movie theater chain. So I was working with them to try to do an event for the 25th anniversary. And you'll appreciate this as a Disney person. The reason we couldn't do it is because when the movie came out, Avatar, the Avatar sequel was still on so many 3D screens that the Alamo Draft Houses couldn't get they couldn't get them both on. So James Cameron out James Cameron himself. So we had come up with this elaborate event. But in hindsight, I'm glad it didn't happen because I will tell you one of the last emails that their person sent to me was like, I'm thinking about renting the slide. And I just was like, I can't, like
You're
at
like,
that point, things had gotten out of control. I was like, I'm a historian. I don't know where this has gone, but it ended up not happening, thankfully. But he was like looking online at the slide. It still exists and people still rent
oh
it for
yeah,
things.
oh yeah.
And yeah, that's a no from
It
me.
there, it's like it's similar to yeah, it's a fine line, but I don't know if you know this, but Disney was going to make a theme park called Disney's America, and it was going to be in Virginia, and it's good it did not get made because it was like
Is that the one that was going to have like all the Civil War like
yeah,
references, right? Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah. Okay.
like a roller coaster where you're in a fighter jet in World War II, and it's like okay, like
That's
just
very
if you
scary.
dig into it, it gets crazy. Like it gets crazier and crazier the more you reveal. And thank goodness somebody was like, this is actually a terrible idea. Because I think interactive and immersive history is important, especially for kids. Like I think Disney does a good job with things like Great Moments with Mr. Lincoln or Hall of Presidents. But we don't need a theme park ride where you're on a World War II fighter jet.
No,
Um,
no,
and I
no.
think the immersive experiences are good if they stay in the same vein of like immersive exhibits or like in the way of like a Colonial Williamsburg or something like that where it makes it tangible to people.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
like,
I
yeah,
was actually just in Colonial
yeah,
Williamsburg a few months ago, and I mean, it's beautiful. In many ways, it's beautifully done.
yeah,
Like in many ways, that's one of the best examples of that you're talking about for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
I just think when it gets into gamifying it or like making it silly and fun in a kitschy way, that's when
Yeah.
it like the
Or
ice cream shop.
ridifying it. I mean,
Yeah,
if the ride has entered the chat, that's probably
yeah.
gone in the wrong direction. Although Belfast, have you been to Titanic Belfast?
No.
Okay, so I know you obviously you guys travel a lot. You should
Yeah,
do, I selfishly want you guys to do some Titanic related travel and
I
vlog
would love
it.
to. I would love to.
Belfast is incredible because you can stay at the Titanic Hotel, which they turned all of the old drawing offices and all like Thomas Andrews' office. You can go in,
Oh,
it's
that's
still there, but they turned that building into a hotel. It's got this beautiful bar, and then you just walk right over to the museum. It's a world-class museum, but they do have a ride in a way, but it's very tastefully done. It's like you get in a little car, but it sort of takes you through the process of building the ship. And it has like, so it's like the sounds and you smell the coal burning. And so
yeah.
it's very educational and very
Informative.
tastefully
Yeah.
done, but
Yeah.
it's definitely on just on the hair of the right side of the line, but
Yeah.
yeah, you guys should go. It's incredible.
Sounds amazing.
Well, I know your time is valuable and I am so grateful, but I did want to end on just a fun question.
Okay.
So my very best friend and I just recorded an episode for fun that is releasing next week that is recasting the 1997 movie with 2026 people. We're
Okay.
complete nerds, as previously
Hmm.
discussed. So we had spreadsheets, we did a slideshow. This turned into, days of our lives because we're crazy
Yeah.
in the best way. So, if you recast Titanic in 2026, who would you put as Jack and Rose? Any thoughts?
Oh goodness.
Or anybody, a Cal,
Okay. Oh,
a Captain Smith. I put Nick Offerman as Captain Smith. That was my favorite.
oh, I do love Nick Offerman. It would be sad to see him go. Have you seen Titanic, by the way?
Yes. So
Okay.
have
That's what I'm
you
thinking of.
did
Oh my God, it's so funny.
did you see it in New York or did you see it in London?
We saw it in New York.
Okay, yeah, I
Yeah.
saw it in New York when it was still off Broadway. The one of the best experiences
It
of
is
my life.
so funny. So see, that's the movie. So I'm like fully in on board with how ridiculous that
Yeah.
concept is because that's the movie. They're not even talking about the sad stuff. They're
Yeah.
talking
No,
all
I
about
think
the drama
that
of the
is
movie.
on
Yeah.
the right side of the line completely
Yeah.
because it's all in good fun. And apparently Celine Dion has even been made aware of it and she's totally fine with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which I love because she's such a queen. Okay. Who would I cast? Because that's what I was thinking. I was just thinking about how Jim Parsons is Ruth
I
Taylor.
know. I do want to go see it on Broad. Now that it's on Broadway, I
Yeah.
definitely want to go see it
I do
again.
too, because
Yeah.
I saw it off Broadway, not the original cast, but it was in that like small theater. We're sitting like on a folding chair and just laughing.
While you think for a second, I just have to tell you one story. So this is true. The morning after I saw Titanic, I ran into Victor Garber on a street corner. Thomas Andrews himself. I did.
Oh,
I like assaulted him. I was like, "Are you Victor Garber?"
you're
And
like,
he was so lovely. He had like eye doctor glasses on. He'd just been the eye doctor, and he
yeah.
was like, "I'm sorry, I just had my eyes dilated. I cannot see you very well, but I'm happy to talk to you." Um,
Oh
but
my God.
but he took a picture, and I told him I had been to see Titanic, and they brought him in
Oh,
to
that's
see it.
funny.
And we talked for a few minutes, and I said, you must get this kind of people must, talk to you about Titanic like this all the time, right? And he deadpan looked at me and he was like, "No, not like this. You're definitely unique." So,
I would wear that like a badge of honor.
yeah, so that's my badge of honor.
Okay, recasting. I'm gonna cast. First of all, he's probably too old to play Cal, but I am in the age now where every Hollywood celebrity that I'm attracted to is like 50. So that's probably
Same.
too old for Cal. But I am really into Sean Hattasey right now, who's Dr. Abbott on The Pit. And
Yes.
he was just in Ready or Not 2, which is a horror comedy, and he's the bad guy. But I was like fully ready to commit to his team, even though he was the bad guy, because he is so charming. And in Ready or Not 2, he's a rich asshole bad guy, which is Cal to a
Yeah.
T.
Yeah, Cal could be older. I mean, from a historical perspective, they married very young women off
Yeah.
to very old
Yeah.
people,
And I
unfortunately.
think Sean
So,
Hattasey's like 50 or
yeah, not
51.
that
So,
50's old, but just like,
yeah, compared to
and
Rose.
yeah, compared to like a 19-year-old, that's a little much, but
Yeah.
they totally did that back then. So
Yeah.
that's
So
not
I
out of the
think
realm.
I want to put Sean Hattasey in because I actually love the character Cal. He's obviously terrible, like as a person, but I quote so many of his lines all the
Oh
time.
my
Like,
gosh. Yeah, like I have a child. I have a
yeah,
child. Like
I
that was
say that all the time, and I say I put the diamond in the coat, and I put the coat on her. I say that
uh,
a lot.
I joked for a long time when I always see that he's making the rounds like for these conventions and stuff. And this is an awful joke, but I told my husband once, I was like, I would go to the convention and just pay him to look at me and do the thing where he's like, "It is a little slut, isn't it?" Like
Yeah,
which is awful,
yeah. No,
awful, but like
he's got so many good lines.
it's the mustache twirly, like
Yeah,
he almost is like a Disney villain in
yeah.
many
He's
ways in
like,
that movie.
yeah, not the
Yeah.
better half. Like he's terrible. So I could
He's
see Sean
he's awful.
Hattasey,
He's an awful person.
awful
Like he
person.
doesn't deserve to ever be redeemed in culture, but it's just like
No,
Billy Zane is so he just ate that role up,
yeah.
so it's just incredible.
And
Yeah, yeah.
he's got to be like a handsome asshole. So I would put Sean
Yeah,
Hattasey in there
that's a good one.
because I know he could do it. As far as Rose goes, my actual gut was Sabrina Carpenter
Oh my God, that's what my husband said.
because
That's
I
what
love Sabrina Carpenter and I feel
we,
like she's
yes.
got the like bright-eyed, like, beautiful face of Rose, but I feel like she
Yep.
could eat up the like being sassy too because
She would
she's
look
pretty
really good
sassy.
in the dresses too.
Yeah.
She would look
Yeah.
really good in this. Yeah, that's so funny. That's
Yeah.
what John said immediately the other day. Yeah.
And then
What
I
about
kind of want to put Michael B. Jordan in everything. So
I love Michael B. Jordan.
I want to put him
Every,
everywhere. I'm like, you need a hunk, Michael B.
yeah.
Jordan.
Well,
But then
that's how
I
I feel
also
about
thought Hudson.
the who?
I also thought about Hudson Williams
Oh, well,
for
oh my God,
yeah,
that's
which matches
literally what
your
I was about
earrings.
to
Yeah,
say. I was about to say like that's me and Hudson Williams right now is I want to shoehorn into every dream casting right
yeah,
now because I'm so obsessed. Yeah.
yeah,
I'm literally obsessed. Yeah, I actually thought about him too. And when we did the episode, I put him as one of my honorable mentions. But
yeah.
ultimately, I was like, I kind of think I went with a lanky Jack again because I do
Yeah.
think Jack needs to be kind of like a little dorky and lanky.
Yeah.
So I went more that vibe, but he was in my honorable mentions
Who
because
did you say?
so he is an actor that was on Wednesday, and he was also in that movie, My Old Ass with Aubrey Plaza. So his name's Percy Hines. Oh my gosh, what's his last name? I'll put it in the show notes. Shelby, but he's so good.
Okay.
He was like one of the, I don't want to ruin anything in case
No.
people haven't watched Wednesday, but he's one of the like love interests in the first season of
Yeah.
Wednesday. And he's fantastic in that Aubrey Plaza movie. So he's kind of like an up and coming, but he has like the 90s Leo vibe, big lips, like long hair. He wears
Yeah.
like a white t-shirt and like smokes a cigarette in the paparazzi photos. So I went with like the Leo 90s
Yeah.
vibe. Yeah.
Maybe I'll say Hudson Williams for Jack because he does
Yes.
have the hair and
Okay.
he's got the swagger kind of Jack, but not not him in the show. Him as a person has more swagger,
Yeah.
which is funny because in the
Yeah.
show I like Ilya, but
It's
as people on following them on their social media journey, I love Hudson because he's
oh
just
my
kind
God,
of
he's
like a
so unhinged.
he does not.
He doesn't
I hope
care.
I
He
hope he
doesn't,
never gets media trained. I hope he
yeah.
just says whatever he wants for the rest of his life. So I'm gonna put him there, and then I'm gonna make uh I'm gonna make Thomas Andrews hot and make Michael B. Jordan be Thomas Andrews.
Perfect. I like that.
Yeah.
And he's actually like, he would actually be like the perfect right
and
age for Thomas
and he would
Andrews now. Yeah.
eat up the like three-piece suit with the clock and like the pocket watch, and he would look so dapper, and we'd all be so sad to say goodbye to him
Oh yeah, like
in any of these roles. All these people are dying, which is sad because I like all these
yeah.
actors, and I'd be
Except for
sad to.
Sabrina. Sabrina
Yeah,
won't die.
Sabrina lives, and Sean Hannity lives, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, not
But
too much longer, but
yeah, but for a little while. Yeah, no, Michael B. Jordan, I was with all the way back to Parenthood. Like I've been a fan of his
so
all the way
handsome.
back to Parenthood. So yeah, now I'm like
And
thinking of him and he needs to be in more I
yeah,
mean, obviously like Sinners, but yeah, he
I,
needs more period pieces with all
this
the costuming.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I just rewatched Sinners yesterday, and I just like the three-piece suit, and that he's just so dapper. Like I feel like he needs to be on the ship somewhere.
Okay. Well, this
Yeah,
this is good, and I feel like I got to live out my Hudson Williams as Jack fantasy because you
yeah.
went with it. I'm like a little
It's the
sad
hair,
that
I
I
think.
didn't. Oh, so
It's
good.
it's the swoop.
It's so
That is
good.
kind of signature Jack.
Yeah, it is. And he has that like he can really play like the bright-eyed innocent, like the
Yeah,
way he plays Shane, there's some there.
he
Because he is
he
so different than Shane. Like I
he
don't
needs
think
to combine those two. He needs to
you
combine
think
Shane and himself, and
yeah,
that
and
kind
then
of
they
is
get
Jack.
married. Yeah,
Yeah,
like that the marriage of those two personas is perfect. Well this is amazing. I can't believe I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be true to myself and wear
yeah.
my cheesy and I'm so glad you got I
And I was that I didn't even say that because you had those earrings on. That was when I was noodling on this beforehand. He was one of my options, and then I was like, but I also have to shoehorn Michael B. Jordan in here somewhere. So
yeah, no. Okay. Well, we have very similar tastes in actors.
yeah,
I love it. Well, I was looking at the clock. I want to, make sure that I don't take too much more of your time, but thank you so much. I really, the journey of this podcast has been so much about marrying all sorts of things and like me getting to live out this real fantasy of talking to people about what brings them joy. Like the podcast has really morphed. Obviously, it's a lot about the history, but I have met some of my best friends through it. I have traveled the world with it. I have, I get emails from people that, are like, oh, I'm, like postpartum with my baby and I go on walks and I listen to your stuff about
oh,
Titanic and it like helps me like get through my day. It's like I've connected with so many people about different interests. One of my very dear friends, Jamie, is our Disney travel agent and she and I are like Titanic simpatico
I
friends.
love
So
it.
like there's so many like things that bleed all into each other in my life and I love being able to celebrate it and talk to people about it. So thank you so much for taking
Yeah,
the time. This is incredible. I appreciate it.
thank you for having me because obviously I love Disney, I love Universal, and so many things that I get to talk about a lot in my job, and I'm very grateful for that. But I also like this was such a treat to be able to talk about another one of my little nerdy joys
Well,
from
that's what
very long ago.
yeah, like that's kind of what I was thinking when I first contacted you because I'd noticed your Titanic in the background. I think it was when you were on FYA Pod. I think like I noticed it when you were on that
Yeah,
podcast. And then like you mentioned it a few times in a few videos. And then when I saw the artifact exhibition video you did, I was like, I'm just gonna go for it because maybe she would just enjoy talking about it.
yeah.
So yeah, this has been great. And I secretly want y'all to go to like Belfast and
I would
Southampton
love to
and yeah.
because one of my like nerdy favorite accomplishments with our job is because of that video that they invited us the most recent time they got new pieces for the exhibition, and it was like
Oh
the
yeah,
first
yeah.
time in many years that they added this necklace, and and it was like we didn't make a video about it because it was a small thing. We put it on our stories and put it on our socials and stuff, but I was like really geeking out in that moment because that was one of those kind of underrated moments of my career where I was like, man, if Molly, who had all these books and was such a nerd about this, 30 plus years ago, if she knew that at some point she would be invited to be one of the first people to see the newest restored artifact from the Titanic,
Mhm.
like she would not have believed it. So
Yeah, no, that's incredible. No, it's so true. Like those kind of moments are so beautiful. Like I've had a couple of those with the podcast. I started at my son's closet in like 2021, and I remember telling my husband like, "Oh, even if like I'll just do like 6 episodes, and if like 12 people listen, I'll be happy."
yeah.
Like I just want to be in the conversation. I just want to like put my stamp on this in some way. And he reminds me of that, all the time, like of that moment. Like when I've had some of my big accomplishment moments, like when I'm doing a live show or whatever, he'll stop me and he'll say, like, you need to remember like that, like go back to that moment in your head and like be proud of yourself. Or like I think about like 13-year-old me with like all of my
Hmm.
Titanic books and everything.
Yeah.
And I would never believe that I've like gotten to go to Belfast and like meet all of these like top historians that have like, been studying all of this for years and years. So yeah, I think it's the message of all of this that we've talked about, I think is like let your nerd flag fly,
Yep.
never be ashamed. And also like for me, it's like send the email. I'm so glad I had the guts to send
Me
you the
too.
email and look like wonderful things happen when you just go for it. So it's a real testament to that. And I mean, it's a bye, but not really because we see you in our house like every week.